vaccine today. It's just third safe, effective vaccine, and it's out. They've approved it today. We're going to use every conceivable way to expand manufacturing of the vaccine, the third vaccine, to make even more rapid progress in getting shots in people's arms. Here's what else we're doing. We're increasing the number of vaccinators. The people putting the vaccine, one thing to have the vaccine, another thing to get in people's arms. We brought back retired doctors and nurses by executive order, allow that to happen. We've already deployed more than 1,500 professionals, medical professionals, you see during the natural disasters from FEMA, our commissioned corps from the Department of Health and Human Services and the Defense Department, including the National Guard. And we're lining up thousands more. We're also setting up more places to get vaccinated. And today, as of today, we provided $3.8 billion to states, territories, and tribes to create hundreds of new vaccination centers and ramp up existing ones. We're providing personnel and equipment, and we're covering the cost for states, including the use of their National Guards. Here in Texas.
All right, Shalom. Call Halayim, Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. Double honors. Much respects to my teachers, the men that I learned this truth from, starting with the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. Barakatham to the hopeful elect, because we are definitely going to need, our Lord, man, the times that we're coming into. All right, and basically just this clip that I played, it's basically just going into basically the ramping up and the increasing of this whole shot. All right, and these centers to administer these shots, the personnel to minister these shots. All right, FEMA being activated, so on and so forth. All right, because in Revelations 12 and 12, I've said this before, man, that's probably going to be a scripture that's going to be quoted a lot, if not brought out a lot. All right, because it mentions the devil coming down with that great wrath, because he knows that it has but a short time. All right, and basically we're seeing just that. All right, because this devil, these devils, all right, because Biden is nothing but a puppet. They are definitely moving, all right, and they're moving rather quickly, all right, because again, not only are they going to ramp up production for the materials needed to administer these shots, all right, you're going to start seeing more and more of these centers, all right, these I'll just say centers. I don't want to put something out there to so the YouTube could pick up on the algorithm and strike the channel and whatnot, but I'll just say centers. All right. But yeah, man, and because I just did a previous video talking about how the target is still you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. All right, because I'm gonna fast forward it. All right. Now, with all this being said, all right, this is who is coming after.
Towns, rural communities, in black. We've also started to send vaccines directly to community health centers to help the hard-to-reach folks in cities, small towns, rural communities.
Hard to reach, all right, because watching a lot of these videos, and I have quite a bit of video clips that I want to play, so just bear with me. But pretty much almost on all these clips, all these videos, they mention either blacks, Latinos, Native American Indians, or they talk about the black and brown communities, or they talk about the hard to reach communities. All right, it's all in the same, because again, can't stress it enough how you so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native American Indians, which you are the true Jews, the true Hebrew Israelites that the Bible speaks of. All right. And again, they mentioning more and more. All right, it's out there. They're not hiding it. All right. But basically, man, all right, because you Jakes, man, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians are being set up for the kill, man. The snare is being set. The trap is being set up. All right. So whenever they talk about the hard-to-reach communities, it's referring to this.
Communities. In Black, Latino, and Native American communities that have higher rates of COVID-19.
So you see that? All right. Because they specifically say this. They specifically say it. Blacks, Latinos, or Hispanics, and Native American Indians. Now, why are they mentioning more and more, all right, the so-called hard-to-reach communities, you know, and getting you, because, again, you know, they're ramping up these jab sites, all right, these centers, all right, and they're placing them in more and more J communities. They're placing them more in our communities, all right, and again, you know, that's no coincidence, all right, that's all strategically set up, all right.
19 infections and deaths than any other groups. Here in Texas, we're already partnering with 12 community health centers in 10 cities.
All right, so that was it on that. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and go on to the next, because like I said, I have a few clips that I want to play. I'll try to go through this fairly quickly.
The coronavirus pandemic. Pop-up vaccination sites, are opening throughout the city, and the latest push to vaccinate more New Yorkers. CBS 2's Christina Fan joins us live from one pop-up site in East New York. Good morning, Christina.
Good morning, Cindy. As the federal vaccine supply increases, more and more vaccination hubs are opening up, like this pop-up location here in Brooklyn. Meanwhile, other centers are extending their hours. New York is picking up its vaccination pace this weekend as a dozen new community pop-up sites open up across the state. At the Javits Center Mass Vaccination Hub, people showed up for overnight appointments to get the newly approved one-dose Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
Oh, definitely worth it. One trip, one shot.
President Biden says the country is on track to meet his goal of 100 million shots in 100 days. But Dr. Anthony Fauci is pushing back the timeline by a few months for getting every American vaccinated.
We project that anyone who wants to get vaccinated will have gotten vaccinated by the time we get to the end of the summer and the beginning of the fall.
Still, signs of recovery and normal life are returning to New York City.
I was counting down the days until the theater opened again.
I've missed it quite a bit. It's a big part of my life.
Fans flocked to the silver screen as movie theaters in the city opened at 25% capacity. Concessions were open with safety in mind. Next to the popcorn and soda, plenty of sanitizer, and workers wiped down credit card machines.
We're more just here for like the experience again, really something to do. It just feels like a piece of pre-COVID times.
But the easing of restrictions is posing concern to doctors. In a new study, CDC scientists say there's evidence that masks lead to fewer infections and deaths, while reopening restaurants increases them.
So you see, because certain places like Texas, I think they're completely open now. I think they dropped the mask mandates and all that. All right, as well as a few other places. And, you know, I think I touched on that. I don't know if I did it on my main channel, which is completely terminated, but I did a video just pretty much going into how that can be misleading. You know, seeing the society starting to open back up, you know, if you're in the faith, all right, and you're a sincere believer, and seeing something like that, it can, you know, it can be a little discouraging. But nevertheless, because what do the scriptures say? When the people think to be in good case, all right, peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes, all right, because I myself have said it, as well as the elder brothers, all right, because the whole thing to get this herd immunity, all right, and get a certain amount of people, almost said the V word, this whole thing with the herd immunity and, you know, trying to get a certain amount of people to take this shot, all right, they know they're not going to reach that. So And again, this is just not this is just an opinion. Like I said, I myself and other elder brothers have mentioned it, because they know they're not going to get the herd immunity. All right, because for the most part, a lot of people are not with these shots. You got some places are starting to protest against these shots, and I have a clip of that I want to play as well. All right, because the cat is out of the bag, and pretty much, all right, the secret is out there. All right, people are waking up to the fact that this whole thing is a bunch of horse dung. All right, again, just trying to choose my words carefully. But the fact that they know this stuff, all right, see, the powers that be, the deep state, whatever you want to call them, all right, they know these things. They plan these things strategically, years in advance, all right, years in ahead. They plan these things, all right. So when they don't get the herd immunity, all right, and again, going back to my opinion, all right, stated this before, they could very well release something that will actually start dropping bodies. All right, with the whole face mask, a lot of people are already their immune system, because what people don't understand, man, wearing these face masks, these face coverings all damn day, all right, when you're driving, when you're outside, which a lot of it doesn't make sense, but nevertheless, all right, people, they're bewitched, man. They're too far gone in that Kool-Aid, man. They're too drunk in the Babylon juice. All right. So with the fact that all these people, they've been wearing the mask all this time, and a lot of people, their immune systems are compromised, so on and so forth. All right. They could very well release something, or a real pathogen that'll actually start dropping bodies. All right. And again, this is just an opinion, but being that, lately, man, Esau has been making moves. He's getting sloppy, and he's getting predictable, because again, quoting Revelations 12:12 again, the devil knows that he has but a short time. And when you do things in haste, right? When you do things in a hurry, in a rush, you tend to, stumble a little bit, make mistakes, so on and so forth. So because these devils, man, they've been very predictable. All right, and I've been surprising myself. All right, because a lot of stuff that I've been saying, man, just predicting. All right, I mean, it's almost happening to a T. It's almost kind of scary, so to say. But nevertheless, man, all right, this is just something that that's put out there, or what can happen. Things are starting to slowly but surely open up. All right, and everyone's thinking to be in good case, right? And then boom, something happens, right? But just to wait and see. But let me play this out.
Dr. Anthony Fauci warned that the recent leveling off of cases also brings concern.
That plateau is about 60 to 70,000 cases a day. When you have that much of viral activity in a plateau, it almost invariably means that you are at risk for another spike.
And the purpose of pop-up
So pretty much get ready for another surge in cases, basically, with everything starting to open back up.
vaccination sites like this one is to target underserved communities.
There goes that term again, underserved communities. All right, who are they talking about? You so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, because you were the forefront of this. All right, and they're trying to paint the narrative that basically you are the cause of this virus that's going on. All right, somehow it jumped from the so-called Chinese, all right, which the biblical nationally goes back to Moab. They're the Moabites of the Bible, but somehow it jumped from the narrative started in Wuhan, China. All right, the quote unquote. Well, I'm not even going to quote it. But basically, this virus that started in Chinese, and now all of a sudden, again, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and American Indians, you are the basically the problem, right?
Since January of this year, over 50,000 New Yorkers have received their first dose through locations like this one. We're live in East New York. Christina Fan, CBS 2 News.
So more of these sites are popping up. All right. We'll go to the next one.
Hundreds of FEMA vaccination sites are opening up nationwide. One will officially open up in Philadelphia Wednesday. Earlier, DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas toured the site. CBS News Homeland Security and Justice reporter Nicole Skanga was there. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas toured this facility this morning, a community vaccination site in Philadelphia. He also announced that there were 440 others like it that were set up in the first 30 days of the Biden administration. Today, there are more than 500 community vaccination sites powered by FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, across the country. Secretary Mayorkas bumped elbows with...
I'm telling you, man, expect more to see more of these FEMA camps, these centers. All right. Expect more to see more of them.
Some of the 222 active military troops deployed at this site this morning as he toured the facility. Members of the Marine Corps that are working alongside FEMA staff to put shots into arms. Now here they're distributing the Pfizer vaccine. There was a soft launch today where state, federal, and local officials got shots in their arms. Tomorrow they open to the general public and are expected to distribute 6,000 vaccinations a day for the next 8 weeks. Now, facilities like this target marginalized groups, including black and brown communities.
So you see that? They're always using that. I'm telling you, Jakes, man, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and American Indians, you are the target. You are the forefront of all this. All right? Why? Because the plan is to get rid of you. All right. Pretty soon, man, you're going to start seeing bodies drop, man. All right. Run that back, man.
6,000 vaccinations a day for the next 8 weeks. Now, facilities like this target marginalized groups, including black and brown communities. One concern by Homeland Security officials is ensuring that members of the Latino community feel comfortable approaching federal authorities.
And the Latino, all right, black, brown, Latino communities, all right,
for their vaccinations, regardless of their immigration status. Listen to this by Secretary Mayorkas today.
Immediately, we announced publicly that Immigration and Customs Enforcement, as well as CBP, Customs and Border Protection, will not undertake operations near vaccination clinics and vaccination sites. We issued that at the very outset of February, and that has held true. And we're very mindful of the fact that people need to access medical attention in the fight against.
So those are the net, man. And real quick, let me get a scripture real quick, man, because you Latinos, man, you Latino tribes, you Hispanic tribes, all right, you Northern tribes, all right, a lot of you brothers and sisters, man, trying to come over here and so-called make a better life or whatnot. Hey, man, you better stay where you're at, all right, because you Latino tribes, you're known for, see if I can find this real quick. There's a scripture that talks about how Oh, I don't think I typed it in right. Cause you Latino tribes, man. Yep, this is it. All right. Hosea chapter 9, and I'll start at verse 11. It says, "As for Ephraim," now Ephraim would be known as the so-called Puerto Rican tribes. All right, well, not tribe, you so-called Puerto Ricans. All right, you stem from the tribe of Ephraim. Your true biblical nationality is Ephraim. All right. And basically, man, but because Ephraim also represents Ephraim, the so-called Puerto Ricans. But oftentimes when it talks about Ephraim, is pretty much, sometimes it's referring to the whole, all the northern tribes, the Hispanic tribes, because when you read after the death of King Solomon, the nation of Israel split into two kingdoms. All right, you have the northern tribe, the northern kingdom, and then the southern kingdom. All right, the northern kingdom, Ephraim being the head of the northern kingdom. All right, which consists of mostly of the Hispanic tribes. All right, so that's why often you might hear me referring to the Hispanic tribes as the northern tribes. All right, and then you have the southern kingdom. All right, which Judah. All right, the so-called blacks, so-called Negroes. All right, being the head of the southern kingdom. All right, so again, because oftentimes when it's referring to Ephraim, it's referring to the northern tribes, or the Hispanic tribes. All right, and that's so just quick brief history on that. But Hosea 9:11, it says, "As for Ephraim, their glory shall fly away like a bird from the birth and from the womb and from the conception. Though they bring up their children, yet will I bereave them, that there shall not be a man left. Yea, woe also to them when I depart from them." And pretty much, man, because when you pay attention to what's been going on down there in South America, all right, the Hispanic tribes, all right, the northern tribes, they pretty much been going through a form of Jacob's trouble. All right, they've been catching hell for the past couple of years or whatnot. All right, because them northern tribes, they're heavy in that witchcraft. All right, Santa Maria and all that stuff. All right, I believe earlier this year you had like 1,000 earthquakes in Puerto Rico, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. So hey man, Yahweh Shemel Shah is getting ready to because things are only going to intensify. All right, Yahweh Shemel Shah is really about to start judging our people, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native American Indians. All right. Verse 13, it says, "Ephraim, as I saw Tyrus, is planted in a pleasant place, but Ephraim shall bring forth his children to the murderer." All right, and who's that murderer? Is referring to Esau, Edom. All right, because I was going to make the point, a lot of you Hispanic tribes, man, trying to come over here to the Americas, America, all right, Babylon, when you're pretty much going to make it worse for yourself, because hey man, this place is going to get jacked up the worst out of all the nations and countries and whatnot. America is going to get jacked up the worst because it's the most wicked kingdom on the earth. All right, but you Hispanic tribes, man, because you don't put your trust in Yahweh Shemel Shai, like I said, a lot of the Hispanic tribes that are into that, the heavy in that witchcraft, idolatry and whatnot, because you don't put your trust in Yahweh Shemel Shai. But a lot of you are willingly pretty much walking sheep, just walking into the slaughter, coming over here, to America, trying to make a better life for yourself or whatnot. All right. You're just gonna pretty much, it's better off if you stay where you're at, man. All right. Because, coming over here, man, to America. All right. And a lot of people are finding that out, that this so-called American dream is actually a nightmare. All right, that's why a lot of the nations are pretty much getting the hell out of Dodge. You hear about all these mass exoduses. All right, people are leaving because they're coming to the realization that this place is not what it's all hyped up to be. All right, and like I said, man, this place is going to get jacked up the worst, man. This place is going to get judged the worst. It's so much that when it's all said and done and the Lord sends the final plague, right, which would be those ICBM missiles, this place is never going to be re-inhabited again. This place is going to be a desert forever. All right. You know, so it's best if you Hispanic tribes, you know, a lot of you down in South America, you know, to stay where you're at, man. All right. You know, just stay where you're at, because it's not going to get any better for you if you come out here. All right. You're walking sheep into the slaughter, man. You know. So going to the next video. So like I said, man, because they use the term, man, they're using that phrase, man, you underserved communities, you black and brown communities, you know, you blacks, Hispanics, Native American Indians. All right. You're the target, man. So moving on, more of these, you know, sites, these FEMA sites and whatnot.
Doc, are you almost done with that tea?
At plushcare.com, it's like our doctors are...
2 mass vaccination sites open today, one in Brooklyn, the other one in Queens.
We have a live look here at the one in Queens. It's at York College in Jamaica.
And a lot of, you know, a lot of you Ephraimites, you so-called Puerto Ricans, man, you know, a lot of you are stationed up there, you know, out there in New York or whatnot, the Brooklyn, Bronx or whatnot, you know, because again, they're going to set up a lot of these sites, these centers in J community. All right. And again, you know, that's no coincidence. It's all strategically, you know, set up.
Each of these 2 sites can vaccinate 3,000 people a day. CBS 2's John Diaz has the story.
69-year-old Dave Mistalal brought his own chair and waited outside York College nearly 2 hours before his 8 a.m. vaccine appointment to be first in line to hear this.
Ready? All right, let's go.
Then, of course, get his shot.
I trust the science, and I want to take it because I want to walk free.
Today, the new...
You trust in science, right? What does the scripture say about science? Yes, the Bible talks about science. 1 Timothy 6:20. 1 Timothy 6:20. O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust. All right. Stick to the words of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. All right. Stick to this Bible. All right. Nothing else, because the scriptures talk about how there's no helpmate. All right. When it comes to the Bible, when it comes to what you need to know. All right. There's no other books, there's no other, there's nowhere else we need to go, all right, to get what we need for salvation other than this Bible. So, you know, with that being said, man, because again, a lot of you Jakes, man, just like this Jake on, you know, that was on screen, he trusts in science. All right, let me read this out. It says, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science, falsely so called. So again, you know, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, we're being told not to trust in science. All right, the pseudoscience, Esau's science, which is, you know, it just goes back to wisdom. All right, but in this case, it's wisdom on the left hand. All right, because you know everything that they do, man, it's all witchcraft. All right. You know, it says avoiding profane and vain babblings. That word profane basically goes into unholy. All right. Separate from outside the temple. All right. And you know, it's spiritual because, you know, the scriptures talk about how you're supposed to deal with your temple going into your body. You know, you got to be mindful of what you put into your body. Right. And that includes those shots. Because if you know the law, man, it's written that you're not supposed to put any cuttings in your flesh. All right. See, this is supposed to be a nation, you know, a God-fearing nation. All right. But they don't tell you these things. They don't tell you how, you know, you're not supposed to be taking these shots. All right. Especially what's in them. All right. Crab blood, you know, and all type of filthy abominations. I'm not even going to get into it because, again, you know, I'm not trying to get striked. All right. But it's a bunch of filthy abominations, you know. So this is why, again, we're supposed to avoid the profane, all right, that which is outside the temple. This stuff is not supposed to be entering into our temple anyways. But nevertheless, it's science, all right? Real quick, I'm going to go to Revelations real quick, make a point. Revelations 18 and 23, it says, "In the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived." All right. So this whole earth has been pretty much put under the spell. This spell, all right, by Esau Edom. Esau has this word in the spell right now. It's just they're in the trance, and that's why the example that I use. A lot of people, especially here in America, they're in that Babylon juice. They're too far gone, man. Driving in the car with a freaking mask on, working out with freaking mask on, right? It makes no sense. These people are too far gone, man. But the point I want to get here, all right, because it says, "For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived." Now, look, when you look into this word sorceries, all right, check this out. All right, this word sorceries, which sorceries goes, well, we're going to read it. All right, so you see this word here, sorceries, right? What is the Greek word? Let's listen to it.
Strong's G 5331. Pharmakia. Pharmakia.
Now, what does that sound like? The pharmakia. All right, it's pretty obvious. That's where they get the pharmacy from. All right, these pharmacies, because these pharmacies, your local pharmacies or whatnot. All right, it's all witchcraft, man. All right, and again, because Joe Biden did mention not too long ago, earlier this year, that he was going to with these jab sites, he's going to work with the local community. What do you call it? What do you call it, man? The community centers and the local pharmacies, your local CVS's and stuff like that. All right, so to administer this jab, and again, they're more so going to put station these more so in Jake neighborhoods, right? Because it's all strategically set up. All right, but just real quick. All right, again, this word pharmakia, this is where they get the pharmacy from. It says the use or the administering of drugs. And what do they sell at these pharmacies? All right, the over-the-counter drugs or whatever, right? It says poisoning. So you see that? It says sorcery, magical arts often found in connection with idolatry and fostered by it. So you see that? I mean, it's almost pretty much self-explanatory, man. And this jab, man, is no different, man. All right, it's all part of the whole witchcraft scheme that they've got going on, man. Damn, because I really want to get into it, but I've had videos taken out, man. Videos are getting taken left to right, man. They're getting taken out left to right, so just really got to be careful, man. And really want to get into it, but for the sake of not getting striked again, let me just move on.
The new COVID vaccine mega site opened in Jamaica, Queens with long lines, as did one at Medgar Evers College.
Pardon me, because what the individual said, man, let me play it back real quick.
And vaccine appointment.
CBS 2's John Diaz has the story.
69-year-old Dave Mistalal brought his own chair and waited outside York College nearly 2 hours before his 8 a.m. vaccine appointment to be first in line to hear this.
Ready? All right, let's go.
Then, of course, get his shot.
I trust the science, and I want to take it because I want.
He trusts the science, right? Which basically he trusts Esau. He trusts the system. He trusts the government, right? And this is the case for a lot of our people, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. They trust the system, right? Because they're so desperate to get back to quote-unquote normal, All right. You know, they want to live that old life that they had the freedom of going to the movies and all this other stuff. You know, our people are desperate to get back to the state. Well, newsflash, all right, things aren't getting back to normal. This is going to be the new normal, all right? Massive jab sites, all right? You know, you're going to have military personnel, man, coming from door to door, to help. Because, again, this is it's all gradualism. Because, a lot of these video clips that, you watch, man, they're doing a lot of damage control. All right. And they're really coming down hard on anti-jabbers, right? People that are, don't really believe in this whole jab, people that, speaking out against the jab, they're really doing damage control. All right. And, when it's all said and done, man, all right, those that oppose, this is, what they've got going on, but believe it or not, man, you're going to be thrown in one of these centers, man. All right, these FEMA centers, these camps or whatever. All right, believe it or not. But, it's all gradualism. That's what it's all leading up to. All right, little by little, step by step, But Isaiah 30 and I'll start at verse 1. It says, "Woe to the rebellious children, saith Yahweh, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin. That walk to go down into Egypt." All right, and if you don't know, America, because, America, there's many code names for America in the Bible. All right. Now, when you read in Revelation, I think that's 11, the 11th chapter, all right, it's referred to as, this America is referred, well, because of course it doesn't say America. Babylon is referred to, Babylon, which is America. Babylon is referred to as spiritual Sodom and Egypt. All right. So oftentimes when it's talking about Egypt, it's talking about America, right? Which in this case is talking about America. Isaiah 30 and 2 says, "That walk to go down into Egypt," all right, talking about America, "and have not asked at my mouth to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh and to trust in the shadow of Egypt." All right. And again, Esau, he's the modern day Pharaoh. He's there's another part in the Bible. He's known as he's basically called Tyrus, if I'm not mistaken. All right, which Tyrus was a Canaanite. All right, just like Pharaoh, the ancient Pharaoh. He was a Canaanite. All right, and the modern day Pharaoh today is Esau. All right. It says, verse 3, it says, "Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion." All right, so putting your trust in the system, all right, putting your trust in the government, all right, is going to be to your shame, because soon, man, the Lord's going to make all this come crashing down. You get, here it is. They just passed the bill for the stimulus money, whatever, all right, And our people, man, they're in that state of in peace and safety, man. Here it is, Joe Biden's in office, right? Giving out all this money, which that's going to lead to one thing or another, but I'm not going to get into that, right? Jake, man, our people are just in that state of peace and safety, like I keep saying, But soon, man, the trust that you put in the system, the government or whatever, all right, is going to be to your shame, man. Because soon you're going to find out. The Lord is going to show you why you should have put your trust in him and not, the oppressors. All right. Because that's what you're doing, man. You're putting your trust in the oppressors, all the ones that are doing the oppression. All right. That's who you're going to, for comfort, the ones doing all the oppression, But I just brought that up, man, because, this guy, man, it's a good example of, the mindset of our people, man. They put their trust in all this, man. They put their trust in the system. It's going to be to your shame.
because I want to walk free.
Today, the new COVID vaccine mega site opened in Jamaica, Queens with long lines, as did one at Medgar Evers College in Crown Heights, Brooklyn.
Very emotional. We don't know what was going to happen to us in 2021 or we were ever going to see 2021, the way things were going.
Until Saturday, the sites will be open to qualified New Yorkers living in underserved minority communities in surrounding zip codes.
Underserved minority communities. So you see how they keep using that phrase. All right, because again, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, you are the target. They are trying to get rid of you. The same people that believe in depopulation, all right, I'm not going to mention any names or anything, but the same people that believe in depopulation, all right, are the same people that are administering, these shots and whatnot. So just let that sink in.
Zip codes.
Making sure that people who have been in the neighborhoods that suffered the most from COVID get access to the vaccination.
Then will open to all residents of each respective borough.
The city is doing some things to get more people vaccinated, especially in the high-risk areas.
The state FEMA sites,
the high-risk areas, Jake areas,
each can administer up to 3,000 shots a day, making them the 2 largest vaccination centers in the state. We are told that those sites will be open daily from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. You can make appointments by heading online. You can give them a call, or you can come down here in person to make an appointment. For more information on all that, you can head over to our website, cbsnewyork.com.
All right, so, just more jab sites. All right. I'm going to play this, man, because like I mentioned earlier, man, the stage is being set. All right. People that are speaking out against this, man, because, again, they're going to set up to where, because also, like I said before, man, a lot of these, people, man, these experts or whatever, they're doing a lot of damage control. All right. And one of the things that they're mentioning in a lot of these videos is how they talk about how it's not mandatory. It's not mandatory. Oh, you don't have to take the shot. It's not mandatory. All right. But like I mentioned before, gradualism. All right. Because little by little, they're going to put the squeeze on the society to, get the people to submit, man. All right. Because, soon, man, you're going to have, your job, man. Your employers are going to start requiring your employees to, get these jobs. All right. I'll use an example. You're going to have military personnel checking for papers, man, and whatnot. You're not going to be able to enter certain venues. Like I said, it's no coincidence they're starting to open back up this society. All right. But in order to be a functioning member in society, all right, hinting at Revelations 13, 16, and 17. All right. But in order to basically be a functioning member in society, to be able to go to these certain venues or whatnot, you're going to have proof that you've been, you've taken a shot, to travel domestically, internationally, right? So on and so forth, man. It's all gradualism. It's all leading up to the big moment, all right? To where it becomes, because soon it's going to become mandatory. Soon. All right? But nevertheless, we're in the gradualism stages. So I'm going to play this video because look how they talk down about people that speak out against these shots.
Doc, are you almost done with that tea?
At plushcare.com, it's like our doctor.
Let's go back to the telly, Christy, and of course, Freedom Phones is the headline. Vaccination passport app is key to normality. New South Wales residents are set to use their phones to prove their COVID vaccination status, with officials closing in on a passport-style plan that could prohibit venue entry to jab refusers.
So like I said, to be able to basically, like I mentioned before, hinting at Revelations 13, 16, and 17, that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the you-know-what, all right? This is what it's all leading up to. So in order to enter into these certain venues and, go to certain places, to be able to go back to Disneyland and all these other places, go out to eat and all these other places, you're going to have proof, right, that you've taken this shot. But look how they speak down about people that are basically refuse and speak out against this.
Users. Well, that's great news. These anti-vaxxers, they don't deserve to go.
So you see that he said that
closing in on a passport
he's saying this is good news.
Style plan that could prohibit venue entry to jab refusers. Well, that's great news. These anti-vaxxers, they don't deserve to go anywhere near people.
So anyone that doesn't want to take the jab, all right, because a lot of people are in that mindset, because again, people that refuse, you're pretty much considered because again, they gotta reach herd immunity. They gotta get a certain amount of of the population jabbed up so that they can pretty much things could go back to quote unquote normal. But because you got individuals that don't want to take the jab, all right, pretty much, man, you're gonna be the reason, the fault on why things, pretty much have to stay the way that they are now with all these restrictions and whatnot. So you can see how they paint the narrative of people that don't want to take this shot are setting up to be portrayed as the bad guy. It's your fault, that we can't get back to normal. So again, you see the narrative that they're playing here.
People who do the right thing, do they?
Please, so anything we can do to stop anti-vaxxers getting access to community is fine by me. I am happy. You
see her attitude? You see their attitude on how, people that don't want to get the jab, man, you're pretty much going to be considered a domestic terrorist, pretty much. An enemy of the state or whatever,
Happy for anti-vaxxers to homeschool their kids. I don't want them at school with my niece and nephew. Our vaccination rate in some areas of Western Australia, the trendy inner city woke communities where it costs over $1 million to buy a house, is down to about 62%. And that's not high enough for immunity on things like measles because anti-vaxxing is gaining such currency among the trendy mums. And of course, if they want to add not being vaccinated against COVID on top of that, go ahead. I don't want to sit on a plane with you.
Damn.
Or go to dinner.
Well, I think that's very reasonable. I mean, surely we need a system where we can identify who has decided not to do the right thing.
And they're setting up that system, all right, for people that don't want to take the basically that they don't want to get down with this whole beast system. You can read about the beast system that is being set up in Revelation 13, all right. People that don't want to get down with the whole system way of doing things, all right. Again, part of that being thrown in these FEMA camps, all right, and that's all prophesied in the scriptures, man. But I'm gonna play this last clip. It's just a very short clip. All right, because this is what's already going on in some places, and this is going to lead to one thing or the other. Let me play this real quick.
Fresh from a 5-day lockdown, protesters now facing the prospect of being locked up. Thousands taking to the streets of Melbourne to oppose the vaccine.
This is experimental bio-warfare on the people.
Many clashing with police.
Get on the ground now!
Victoria Police says 15 people will receive penalty notices for breaching the Chief Health Officer's directions. Another 5 have been charged with resisting arrest, hindering police and refusing to provide details.
It's time to move on. Go home.
Other rallies took place across the country, with more peaceful protests in Brisbane and Sydney, where former reality TV star Pete Evans made an appearance, surprising attendees with a speech.
Each and every one of you has to stand up in whatever capacity you can.
The COVID-19 vaccine rollout begins in key regions across the nation on Monday, with frontline workers and the elderly first in line. Also top of the list, the Prime Minister.
I'll be leading by example on that front.
There's been no indication the coronavirus vaccine will be made mandatory. Anna Rawlings.
So you see that? Because like I mentioned before, they're always, in a lot of these videos, man, they got to do that, the damage control, right? Because, one thing they always got to put in there, this is not going to be mandatory, But for sure, eventually, somehow, some way, it will be later on down the road, whether it be directly or indirectly, all right, like requiring employers, right? Employers are going to require the employees, right? So on and so forth, man. It's all going to trickle down, right? But again, because I, just played that to show that, as far as the protest, all right, that's already happening in certain places, and this is what's going to cause this to happen. Get this in a 2nd Esdras 16. Well, first, let me get this in 2nd Esdras 15. All right, if you don't know, we are living in 2nd Esdras 15 and 16. We are living in those times. All right. If the Spirit permits, I'm gonna, start going into 2nd Esdras 15 and 16 more often. But 2nd Esdras 15, it says, "For the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands." All right, it's going into basically riots, protests. Right, you got the trial. I don't know if it started already, but with the cops that killed George Floyd. All right, they pretty much talking about how they're basically, man, they pretty much on high alert, because hey, man, they could, and again, this is just my opinion, they could end up letting those cops go, which that could incite, just like it did last year, right? And the death of George Floyd, man, all hell broke loose. All right, that could very well happen again if they let those cops go, but nevertheless, man, that's just one of many instances. All right, because there's protesting and riots going on all over the globe, man. There's protests and riots on every continent. All right, for various reasons, man. And this is part of the signs that Yahweh Shemel Shah left us to let us know that we're getting ready to get the hell up out of here, man. He's getting ready to come and get us, But yeah, this is what this is talking about in the 15th verse. Verse 16, it says, "For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, in the course of their power. In the course of their actions shall stand in their power." So eventually, man, things are going to get to a point where people are going to take matters into their own hands. They're going to start storming like what you've seen on January 6th at the Capitol. All right, that was a prime example of this scripture right here. All right, and that's going to intensify. That's only going to get. You're going to start seeing more of that with local politicians. Their homes are going to get invaded. All right, you're going to see more capitals get invaded, so on and so forth. All right, the sedition among men. The sedition basically goes into like the tumults, like what you see going on around the world, man. Riots and protests, all hell breaking loose, man. And like I said, because you already got some of that taking place with these with all these restrictions and these lockdowns. People are protesting against that. People are protesting against these jabs. All right, and that's what's going to take place here in America very soon, man. All right, people are going to start saying the hell with this shit, man, and they're going to take matters into their own hands. And one way or the other, man, this is going to lead to martial law. That's why when you read verse 15, it says, "A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able." Why? For a man to be able to, he's going to desire to go into another city, and he's not going to be able to. Why? Because the city is going to be shut off, and it's going to be martial law. All right, curfews, checkpoints, so on and so forth. Just like the stuff you see in the movies, man. That's coming, man. And one way or the other, this is what all this stuff is leading to. But one way or the other, all right, because again, with the seditions and with the riots and with the protests and all this is going to lead to this, all right. The forcing, mandation. 2 Esdras 16 and 68, it says, "For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you and feed you, being idle of things offered unto idols." All right, and this is pretty much the like I quoted before, Revelation 12 and 12, because the devil knoweth that he hath but a short time. All right, they're getting ready to make their moves, man. They're getting ready to come down with that great wrath, man. This is that same this burning wrath of a great multitude. All right, it's pretty much talking about the same thing in Revelations 12 and 12. All right, they're getting ready to come down, man. They're making their moves. All right, like I said, you're gonna start seeing more of these jab sites pop up. All right, and eventually it will get to a point where, you know, you're getting hauled off, man, to these camps, these centers. You know, because again, the powers that be, man, they know for the most part a lot of people aren't going to take this shit. They know it. So this is why, you know, they got certain things set in place. They got, you know, they've been signing laws and legislations into place and all type of stuff, man. All right, like I said, this is very well planned out, man. This is something that they've been planning for years, man. You know, and they already know, man, people are going to say, the hell with this. And this is what's going to lead to this. All right, reading on, it says, and they that consent unto them shall be had in derision and in reproach and trodden underfoot. Yeah, man, because if you end up folding, if you end up taking, you know, any of that shit, all right, hey, man, you pretty much just sign your death ticket, man, your death sentence. All right, you basically just committed suicide. You know, because Yahweh Shem Yahushua he's looking for those that are going to remain faithful. All right. You know, when the hour of temptation comes, like it talks about in Revelation, right? The hour of temptation, right? Where our faith is going to be tested to the max, man. You know, it's going to take a great deal of faith to say the hell with all this, because it's even written that some of the elect, all right, they're going to be put to death. They're going to be martyred. But the difference is, man, they secured their spot. They're good. All right. And they're going to be resurrected when Yahweh Shai shows back up. You know, when he shows up the second time to declaim the rest of the elect. You know, verse 70 says, for there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. So you see, and this is what's getting ready to take place, man. This great insurrection. Because like I said, you're going to have people getting rounded up, man, and cast out of their houses. Like when you read verse 71, all right, it says they shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. So this is what's coming, man. All right, soon, when they eventually do make it mandatory, this is what's going to be going on, man. They're going to be casting people out of their houses, forced entry, breaking in doors, all right, gathering people up. Some people are going to be exterminated on spot, right? Executed on spot, I should say, right? You know, some individuals, man, they're going to be hauled off into these concentration camps. Oh, well, see, I just said it. You know, Lord's where they don't strike the channel. But yeah, man, you know, these centers, all right, these FEMA centers, all right, you know, real quick, man, because again, like I said, this is all prophesied. Jeremiah 15:2. It says, Jeremiah 15:2, and it shall come to pass, if they say unto thee, whither shall we go forth? Then thou shalt tell them, thus saith Yahweh, such as are for death, to death, and such as are for the sword, to the sword, and such as for the famine, to the famine, and such as are for the captivity, to the captivity. And that ties into Revelation again, where it talks about the devil shall cast some of you into prison. Ye shall be tried 10 days. Right, which tends, you know, is just another, just like 7, the number 7 represents completion. 10 is another one of those numbers. It just represents completion. All right, you know, being locked up for a certain amount of time, whatever the case may be. But nevertheless, this is prophesied, man. All right, once they really start coming, you know, coming through with these FEMA camps and these centers and whatnot. All right. Hey, man, people are going to get locked up, man, and hauled off and locked up. And only God knows what's going to be going down in those camps, man. You know, and again, this is why we're going to need a great deal of faith to, you know, stand boldly in the faith of Yahweh Shem Yahushua and hold on to our faith, man, because that's all we're going to have when this time comes. You know, so hopefully this was edifying. Once again, giving all acknowledgement to Yahweh Shem Yahushua, all credit goes to Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Double honors to my teachers, starting with the apostles and others of Great Millstone. And until next time, man, Lord's will, I say shalom.